Hey everybody, Michelle with Michelle's For Your Living here. Thanks for watching my videos. And today I'm going to be altering this kilt. It's too big for him anymore, and need to take some fabric out of it. Okay, so he said he lost 100 pounds. He's still going to lose more. So basically, I have to cut some of the fabric out. He put it on, and I buckled it up, and I made it so that it can go either way. There were 6 holes, and I put it there. So he's planning on losing more weight, so he can still shrink it some more. But it's gotten to where he said even putting the belt on it through the belt loops won't even hold it up. So, and part of it is it probably would be easier to take out of the front, but the sides of it, him just putting it on and pulling the back tight, and then looking at taking some out of the front, it already puts the pleats going around to the front of his legs. So it needs to come out of the back, and so I'm just leaving the front alone for now, and then the next time maybe you can take it off the front, not the back. If he gets it altered again, he may lose so much weight he just wouldn't be practical. So basically, the pleats are this wide, and here's the middle. It's got a belt loop. I need to take 4 of these pleats out. So that's a substantial amount right there that needs to come out. So to start off with, you got to look at how the thing is constructed and how easy it's going to be to alter it. I agreed to do this one because it's really not, it's not hand sewn. It's done on a machine. So I know I'm going to have to take the waistband off. I'm going to have to take this belt loop out. And, you know, the waistband is going to have to get cut, so it's going to have a seam in it here. And then also the belt loop back on at the end. And then the pleats, they've been top stitched down here to where the fell is. And then this right here, they have top stitched, folded this, and then top stitched along here. And that holds the pleats in place. And the inside of the pleat, okay, to hold that pleat in place, after they got established the pleats, they folded this from the inside. They folded it in half, and then they top stitched along there to hold those pleats in place. So so I know I need to cut 4 sections out, and I'm like, this is a natural place to have a seam, because now it's going to have a seam, and it doesn't. It's one continuous piece of fabric. It doesn't have a seam, but I'm going to have to put one in there. And so this is going to be a natural place, because it already, if they popped open, all of them look like that anyhow. So when I take it apart, I'll undo the stitches here, and then I'm going to leave myself a 1/4 inch seam allowance over this direction, and I'll cut there. And then on the one on the other side, I'll leave take the stitches out, leave a seam allowance on this side of the center point, and then that way when I stitch it back together, it should fall right here where that's at anyways. And then I'll finish off the edge in here. And then that also, I'm going to have to take out a little bit of the hem down here. This is the raw edge of the fabric, the finished edge. And then stitch that back down. Okay. And then, after I stitch the hem in, then I'll do the top stitching back, where I need to, whichever side. So that's what I know I need to do. And so basically I have to lay out, you know, where I'm going to cut, and make sure that I look at it many times before I actually cut the fabric, right? So I know that I need, I'm going to do 2 on this side of center. So I know that this one's leaving. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these. Oh, we didn't look at the waistband on the inside. Let me show you that. So I will, I'll sew his tags back in. So so he has the tag in there. But anyways, but yeah, so, but this section, that section of the waistband's coming out from here to here. So, and that's just where the belt loop is tacked down. So when I take that out, but otherwise there isn't anything fancy going on in here. There's no like inner waistband like a wool one would have, covering all that up. So you know, that's why I went ahead and agreed to do this. I because it doesn't have all the other stuff going on. So I made a kilt, and I know what it takes to put a kilt together by hand. Okay, so I'm going to mark this one as well. Just trying to get the top piece of the fabric. Okay, so I know that these are the 4 that are going to get cut out. And as for where I'm going to have to take stitches back, okay, so that one's got to go. Basically, what I'm looking at is that this line right here needs to be that line right there. So I want to take out to this line right here. I'm going to stick with the yellow because that's the stuff that's getting cut on my needles here. Okay, so but on this side, this is coming out right here at this line, and so it's this piece right here that's going to, I need to cut on this side of the line here. Okay, so when I count from here, from that inner pleat, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've got 4 down here marked to get cut out, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 up here that'll get cut out. And so the other thing that I need to mark and be aware of when I'm going to be, because I got to use the seam ripper at first, how far over am I going to take the waistband out? So this pleat is all the way like, oops, this pleat is, I'll find it on the inside. This pleat right here. So, yeah. Maybe I got the wrong pleat. I think I grabbed the wrong one. Yep, I'm one over too far, I think. Yep, this one. I'm over 1. Okay. This one right here. Actually, I wouldn't. I always want to, I'm going to go past that point right there. Anyways, so yeah, right there, that's that one coming up right in here. And yep, put my hands on it. Yep. No, actually it is this one back here. They are that far over. Okay. Always do it more than one time. Check yourself, and I will before I actually start taking this out. And this is just to help me, so I rip out enough as I'm ripping out, and I'm not wasting my time and have to go and rip more out. But because I'm going to have to move the waistband. This one, I'm going to be folding that side back over to this point right here. So I'll probably go ahead and take the waistband off down to this point right here. Just to give myself, get the waistband out of the way. And that's what it comes down to. How far over do you need to go to get get that out of the way? And then once I sew the pleats back together, and then this becomes the new center right here, then I can cut this part of the waistband out. Then I'll lay lay those back in there and then sew it. Okay. The other thing that I've done already also is I took pictures of this. I like to take pictures of my projects, like the things I'm doing. If I'm taking something apart, I want to take pictures of it before it gets taken apart so I can refer back if I need to. Most of the time I don't refer back to them, but sometimes I do, just to make sure. Like this right here, the buckle, or the belt loop is up underneath of the waistband right there. So that's one of those things I might not remember, you know, or something, on how it is. So, okay. So now it's time to start taking things apart, and I have a seam ripper, and so you just start pulling this out, and be sure not rip the fabric. Yeah, so wants me to, he's like, I really need it within 10 days. I'm like, okay. So, anyways, this is going to be a little tedious to watch me take this out. So, I'm going to not film all of that. But anyways, you got the idea. Get you a seam ripper and start ripping it out. Okay, so I've got quite a bit of it undone. So got the waistband and did a little bit past where I needed to be, and so that worked out where I marked that, and I put a white pin. That's my new center seam right there. And what I did discover when I pulled that out is that they had already sewed all the way from top to the bottom to create the pleat, and then when they laid that down on there's another row of stitching on top of that. So fortunately I didn't pull out this. I only took out the part that was holding it down there, so I don't have to redo that part. Okay, so I got that, and then I did this one where they top stitched that on the inside. So I've got that out, and of course that's going to be my stitch line right there where that crease is. And then I'll have to cut that off. So I got to do the other side. And so just to keep myself straight, I put the white pin right there. And then that is going to match up with that one. And that'll help me keep it all straight where I'm at, so I don't cut the wrong thing, right? All right. So this stitch line needs to come out right here. So I just did this one like this, and that way I'm not taking out that top stitching that's holding the pleat that they did first. And this is just removing the one where they actually sewed the fill. Okay. And yeah, and I pinned the belt loop right there so I won't lose it, because I don't plan on cutting this piece until, you know, I'm going to make it fit exactly. I mean, I could cut it. I'd be confident in my cutting it. Of course, you got to leave seam allowance. Sew it back together, and but I may as well wait, and I'll cut that piece, and it's back stitched here, so there's extra stitching on the top and the bottom to hold it. The waistband was sewn down right sides together, then flipped over the top, and it was sewn down like this with the right sides together, and then it was turned over, and then it was stitched down again. So that's what I'll replicate that. So when I'm taking things apart, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. What's actually holding it together. So this should be the line. I got my pin down here, so this is the line that I need to take out as well, because I'm going to cut on this side. And so I just went along in here, and it is back stitched here, so it has extra strength right there and holding that in. Oh, and then the so I'm going to go ahead and I'll get this out, and then The other thing I have to do right here where this one where I've already taken it out, I'm gonna cut here, but I'll need to remove back here a ways, because when I sew the two pieces together, I of course want the hem to lay out flat, so then I can roll it back on itself and then top stitch that back down. So this it'll be okay once I cut this off. That's far enough. So take out as little stitches as that I have to. That's the theory. Okay. So I'll get this line out, and then I guess it'll be time to cut. Okay, so I've got everything unstitched that I think I need to get unstitched, and so I'll just check one more time, and there's one line where I'm going to cut on the yellow. The yellow gets cut out, the white is going to match up with the white over here, and that yellow's getting cut out. So got that. I mean, one thing I could do before I did this is iron this this pleat out a little bit, but you know, extra step, have to turn the iron on. All right, so one last check that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I still have my original pins, the yellow pins in there where I'm cutting out. I'm cutting on this side. I didn't put a pin up here, but I'm cutting on that side, and that's the white pin where this is eventually going to end up right over there on that line. And I can see where the fabric is faded. You probably can't see it on the camera, but I can see where this is the stuff that's been exposed is a lighter color than this internal place right here. So it's easy for me to see where that stitch line is. That's the only thing that really might throw things off, but I can tell where it's at. Plus I could measure the pleats if I needed to. So that's all good. Now I need to cut. So I went ahead and laid it out flat, so I make sure I'm not going to cut anything underneath. And so I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And so basically I am going to go, and I could get out the rotary cutter and the rotary mat, which I actually have laying right here. I could do that if I wanted to, and put that down and just go like that and make sure I get a straight line. Mostly I think what I'm going to do is, because it's not necessarily about the cutting line, it's the stitching line. I'm going to just do these with my good scissors right here, and eyeball a 1/4 inch. So, because ultimately I'm looking how straight that fold line was with the grain, because actually I can see a texture to this, and it's not following the grain. It does seem to have somewhat of a curve. If I follow this line, it's getting further and further away, so I do not want to follow the grain of the fabric, but and by the time I sew this, I may decide that I need to iron that, but right now I don't feel like I need to iron it. I just want to make sure that I'm only cutting one layer, and depending on how wide your pleats are and where your pleats go, you know, that pleat may fold over into where you need to cut, so you might have to, you know, rip out another you know, some more stitches to get the pleats out of the way. Let me check this one to see that nothing is back there behind it. So I got that side cut. So this one I'm cutting on this side of the line, and I'm going to give him back this piece that I cut out. If he ever needs to repair this or anything, if he needs a, you know, if it gets a hole in it or something, or he could have some matching accessory made out of that if he really wanted to, bow tie or whatever. I'm sure this man doesn't wear bow ties. Anyways, there's the piece I cut out. So, what I need to do is, with the right sides together, because we obviously don't want the seam lines to stick out. And I did, like I said, pulled out stitches on this hem. So I'm just going to match this up. And actually not necessarily my cut line, like I said, it's the it's that fold line that needs to match the other fold line, since I actually didn't measure. And I'll just pin this together, and then when I stitch, I'll just stitch right down that fold line right there, and then we'll go from there and do all of our little top stitching that we need to do to make sure we get all of that. And then I will have to put the waistband back in and do all that. Just, you know, reverse it what I'm doing. And actually a really easy way to line this up is to put a pin through there and then put the pin right there where you want it to be and straighten that up, and there you go. That lines up the lines. That's a really good quilter's trick too, when you're trying to do match corners. Anyways, watching me pin is not the most exciting thing. All right, we'll pick up at the sewing machine. I've got it pinned, and I'm just gonna sew right down that fold line. So when we turn it around, there it's a seam, just like that seam right there, and so it won't look any different. But I don't want to leave these edges raw like that, so I'm just going to do a little zigzag stitch over the raw edge. So I'll just the best thing is to try to mimic the same stitch size that you already have there, so it doesn't look so different. And okay, I am going to do just a couple of back stitches, and I'm just following the line, so it'll be exactly the same. A couple back stitches there at the end of it. Okay, so I have to fold the pleat over so I can do this top stitch and get this top stitch down. And it knows where it wants to lay anyways, but it's laying right in the right spot. And I'm going to pin that, but the one thing I've got to be mindful of is not to sew this other pleat that's behind it, fold it over. I don't want to sew that into this. So get that out of the way, all the way down there. Okay, now we can pin this together so it doesn't move on me. and also find the bottom. Here's the last, and I can kind of see where that last stitch was at right here. So that last pin's where I'm going to stop the top stitching. Okay, and I'm going to back stitch at the bottom. Time to cut the waistband. I've got the tags off so I can put them back on. And I went ahead and pinned the belt loop where it goes, right there. So I'll be ready to sew it on, and it's going underneath there. And that's the center of the back, which normally I would put the seam right in the center, except this belt loop is there, and with the seam allowance that I'm going to create with this, I kind of think that's going to be a little bit bulky right there. So I'm going to cause the seam hopefully to be right here. And so I'm going to take and cut 1/4 inch this way or so. All right, and then this I want to overlap, and actually I'll offset it that way since I did cut it that long. And then I can I'll cut this right here, so I will sew right in there, and that way that extra bulk won't go on top of the belt loop. All right, so there's the piece out, and then these have to get sewed together like this. Okay, we're going to stitch the waistband seam back together. Do a little back stitch just to make sure it doesn't try to come apart. That part, and now we'll test it to see if I did it in a appropriate spot. I did get it right length, and it's offset just a little bit so that bulk is not on top of the belt loop. So the belt loop will get attached when I sew across here. I have that pinned so it's holding this pleat down so it isn't flopping around. Okay, so the one thing, here's where it's like, take out as few stitches as I possibly can, but what I need to do is actually sew this down first along that line, then fold it over, and then do this top stitching part. And that's, I need to take out some more of this so that I can access it, is what I'm seeing right there, just so I can get it. It seems to be, it's the top stitching that's more in the way, not the initial stitch. So, but what I also want to do is go ahead and sew these on before I forget. And these tags were just sewn along the base right there, and there wasn't anything because it has this extra lip that flops up. So I will put this one here, and then I'll sew the other one. Do that while it's a little bit easier. course, that size isn't right anymore, but all right, so I took the top stitching out a little further back so I can flip this around and get to the stitches here. Okay. Okay, we'll make sure everything looks good. Okay, I'll trim the string off at the end. But yeah, so I caught the belt loop there, which is good. And make sure that the pleats are all, yeah, and I messed that one up. So that's what I do when I'm not paying attention. So all I need to do, I'll just do that. Let me put a pin. I should have pinned it down to make sure that it didn't do that. Okay. So let's get that section back under there. And then we'll just sew it in there again. Right, so now I got it down flat. Okay, so that looks good, and then I just need to top stitch this right along this line right here. So I'll make sure nothing's in the way and everything's laying flat. So this is where I pull it out further back down here. And I'm overlapping the previous stitches. I'm just going right along that edge. And here's the big lump where the new seam is. And then the belt loop. Back stitches right there, and that part's done. So there's that, and that's fine, just like that. And I'll trim off the strings hanging, but yep, that works. And then one last thing, we gotta sew the end of the belt loop down. So line that up right there. Oh, so what they did do prior to sewing it up here at the top, they laid it down flat. They sewed across it this way, and then they put it up there and did that. And that's one thing I did not do here. And tricky on myself here. Let me get it started, and I take the pins out, get those out of the way. And I'm going to go over it a few times, because that's one thing it's got a lot of stress on it. Okay. There we go. And I just need to trim the strings off, and it's all done. Alright, one more thing. You know, when I do jobs for people and I find things that are broken that they didn't know about and didn't say anything about, like this pleat, see, it's supposed to be down here and this pleat is ripped out, I go ahead and fix it, even if they didn't ask me to fix it. Alright, thanks for watching.